It's about time we play this game. Get everybody and your friends together. Okay, three, two, one, let's jam. Hey everyone, welcome to our Cowboy Bebop solitaire run. We are going to go ahead and we're going to play a game of Cowboy Bebop using the solo options. So, for those of you that are unaware, Cowboy Bebop is a game that is playable from 1 to 4 players based on the TV show of the same name, the fantastic anime, which we love to play. Pardon my uhs. This is one of the first videos we are making, so apologies in advance if the quality isn't exactly perfect, but hopefully it is enjoyable, watchable, and you'll get a kick out of seeing this game be played. We picked this game specifically because obviously things are getting better with the pandemic. However, we're still not quite at a point necessarily where people can regularly get together for board game nights. So we wanted to spotlight a game that is fun to play and can be played on your own. So with that being said, we're going to walk through real quick just some of the basics of the rules, how this works as a single player game as opposed to the multiplayer version, although we'll talk a little bit about the differences, and we're going to actually play through the game. So you can see what it looks like, how it plays, and kind of go through that process. This video will probably be roughly half an hour or so. Could be a little bit longer, but I think the game is designed in solo mode to run pretty fast. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go through this, and we're going to talk through the game. So, Cowboy Bebop Space Serenade is a competitive co-op deck builder. So I know that sounds like a silly, kind of weird thing to say, but basically, the gist of it is that you, the players of this game, are the crew of the Bebop, and they are going around collecting bounties, sort of just like on the show. The big thing with the multiplayer slash single player aspect is that all 4 characters exist in the game regardless of whether or not there are 4 players. So that's the big piece of it, and that's kind of how this works together. If you are playing 1 or 2 or 3 players as opposed to a full 4, whoever is not being played, their abilities can still be accessed as long as you have them on the same planet or location that you have. So apologies if my hand goes through here; it'll readjust focus, so hopefully it doesn't hurt anyone's eyes too badly. Um, but as an example, like if I was to move, say, Faye and Spike onto Ganymede, they could both participate in the combats to be able to take down the target. So, with the basic setup, there are 4 key resources in the game. So you have fuel, which is the lovely green icon here. Fuel is the only resource that kind of stays from turn to turn, and you'll notice there's a tracker on each of the player boards, corresponding to each of the characters that allow you to track that fuel and keep track of it throughout the game. Fuel is how you get around, so you need fuel to leave the Bebop. You also need then go to any of the planets. You also need fuel to get back to that. So big piece there. Um, Now, one of the other key pieces to be aware of is oolongs. Oolongs, of course, are your money. Oolongs are used to purchase the cards that are in the marketplace. The purchase costs are listed up in the top corners up here, so you can see them. Maybe, depending on how you're watching this video, it might be a little difficult to make out, but we'll point those out as we play. Next, of course, there is strength. Strength is a red sort of burst icon. Strength is used in combat encounters. So if you're going to try and take down a uh, bounty target by the old-fashioned way, you can go and you can fight them. It's a little bit easier in that you only need 1 strength token per token on the particular card to be able to capture that token and help defeat the bounty and collect on the reward. However, one of the big things with this is that your bounty is going to be that there's a risk reward factor with the strength attacks. So with strength, anytime you do that attack, you then have to take a wound card and add it to your deck. Basically, the wound cards sometimes they don't always go into your deck. Sometimes you get basically a free pass. Sometimes you get severely injured and it slows your deck down. Sometimes it's just lasting for a turn. It kind of depends on the situation. But that'll be these cards, and we'll see how these play out as we go in the future. And then last but not least, there's information or intelligence, communications, a couple different words you can use to describe it, but basically this is when you take down the bounty using information and the net, basically, as opposed to taking them on in direct combat. Pardon me, thirsty, so we're taking a sip. Now, the communication is a little bit harder. You'll notice that most of these cards up top require 2 communication to be able to take 1 token, as opposed to most strength tests, which only require 1. Um, The trade-off, though, is that you do it with less physical risk, so you're not gonna take damage anytime you use those features, so, a little bit of neat things there. You'll also notice that the cards in your decks, or the cards that are available to you, correspond to your character. So, Faye is yellow, Jet is purple, Spike is blue, and Ed is I say Ed is red, it's not Ed is orange. Um, however, those colors correspond to their card types. This matters when you start employing cards. Now, the first cards that you have are all the same. So each character has their own colors, like that correspond, and we'll see that on their decks. Each character starts with the same 4 basic cards. So you have a little fuel, which just gives you some fuel. You have just a hunch, which gives you a little bit of money and some communication ability. You have this might work, which gives you a fuel and a strength. And Let's Jam, which gives you 1 Wulong and allows you to, you can't quite read that on the camera, can you? That's a little crazy. Sorry about that, but it does say on there that you may move 1 non-player character for free. So this card is essential in the solo games or in the games where you're playing with less than 4 people, because this allows you to take the characters that aren't in play and you move them from planet to planet so that you can then use their abilities and take down bounties. And last but not least, every starter deck starts with, a little bit of money. So for a few Wulongs, and that gives you 1 money that you can use to purchase cards in the marketplace. So your starting deck is 10 cards, you shuffle it up, and get ready to go. Now, as I mentioned, you are a member of the crew of the Bebop. We're going to go ahead and play as Spike. So Spike is our official player character for this run. So Faye, Jet, and Ed will be our NPCs. Now, for to get to again, the goal is for us to capture these bounties so we can earn renown and money and eat and live to hunt more bounties. Now the big end game piece of this is obviously that as the game progresses and you're collecting bounties, eventually Sparks Spike's arch rival, also known as Vicious, will show up towards the end game. And then it is a race to track down and capture Vicious before he escapes. If he escapes, unfortunately, you lose the game. If you again, this is a co-op game, so the goal is to try and beat the deck basically, and it is a race against time. You'll notice that there is a bit of an element of race against time as well in terms of collecting the standard bounties, because the bounties will disappear as you go. Normally, anytime you capture a bounty, you will go to the big shot board, which is over here. It's a little, I can't quite show it because unfortunately this space is at a premium on the screen. But the big shot board gives you, lovely, of course, that's how you get your new bounties, from the lovely big shot board. Now, normally, when you're playing a game with multiple players, you're going to pull, anytime you complete or capture a bounty, you're going to draw 2 cards from that pool and either place them in the appropriate planet, or you're going to, if the planet already has a bounty, you're going to discard the card that you draw and increase the fuel tracker. Basically, it gets harder and harder to get to the planet where the bounty is located if as the time runs out. If it gets this far, if this fuel tracker gets all the way up to the 4th marker, then that means that particular bounty escapes before anyone can catch it and nobody gets renown for it. The space empties and you can fill again. Now, in order to keep the game going in a solo variant, every time you shuffle your deck, you actually have to flip 1 of those cards over, in addition to flipping over 2 of them anytime you capture a bounty. So you'll move through this game pretty quick in solo mode. There's a lot of replay value too, because again, you can play as different characters. The cards that will come up in the marketplace will vary from turn to turn, so on and so forth. And of course, there are quite a few bounties, and you don't use all of them every game. So, with that being said, we're going to dive right into the gameplay. So I have shuffled up my deck. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to draw our first hand of 5 cards. So our first hand, and the thankful thing about these cards is they don't have to be played in any particular order, so you kind of just have the resource pool to work with. So we have just a hunch, which gives us a Wulong and a communication, a little fuel, which gives us 2 fuel, and 3 Wulongs. So 3 Wulongs. So we have a total of 4 Wulongs to spend this turn. We have 1 communication to spend, and we have 2 fuel. So we're going to take 2 fuel, bump them up. Spike is going to make his way all the way over. We're going to spend 1 of the fuel, slide Spike over to Earth, and we're going to try and take on Teddy Bomb. Now, as of right now, we don't have any ability to be able to take him on or to do anything, because we have the only thing we have is 1 communication, and it takes 2, as listed on the card, to be able to take him out. Now you'll notice that on each of these bounty boards there are indicators. One that says the types of attack you can do, so either communication, intelligence attack, or strength attack. And it tells you how many of those attack points you need in order to be able to claim one of the tokens on the board. In this case, there are 2 tokens for each, both strength and communication. Once either one of those piles empties, you can claim the bounty. Now, unfortunately, I only have 1 fuel or 1 communication. I need 2 to be able to take a token, so I can't really do anything else this particular turn. So I can take what I have here, which is of course our Wulongs. Got 4 of them. We're going to go ahead and we're going to look for a card to purchase. So with 4 Wulongs, there are only 3 cards on this board that we can purchase right now. We could purchase Aggressive Questioning, which gives 2 Wulongs, 1 Strength, and 2 Fuel if I have a Fey card in my hand at the same time. So you'll notice that this is a purple card. This purple card means it matches Jet. And underneath here, there's a little yellow bar. That yellow bar is extra things that happen if you also are playing a yellow card in the same hand. So there's basically synergy bonuses for playing cards from multiple characters in the same turn. The other card that we could potentially grab is Going Solo. Going Solo is an Ed card. It gives you 1 Wulong. Other players with at least 3 fuel lose 1 fuel, so it's kind of dragging people down a little bit. Not exactly a useful card in this set. There's also no other players in this game, so really it's a low effective card. We're probably going to skip that one. If we had a Jet card in the same thing, then it would also give us 2 extra fuel. I can't employ this one because it costs 5. Can't employ this one because it costs 6, but this last one is Giving a Lift. Giving a Lift only costs 2 Wulongs, and you may move another character for free. And it's 2, and it gives you 2 Wulongs when you play. To be perfectly honest, I think that's actually the smart move, so we're going to go to Giving a Lift. Even though I could get this card, which is pretty nice, I think Giving a Lift is a good first card for this round because I'm going to need to move a lot of characters around to be able to accomplish my goal. So that ends that first turn. So we're going to draw 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't shuffle yet because we only shuffle when we run out of cards, so we don't have to worry about that yet. But we do that, and the turn progresses. Now, each of the characters, as you'll notice, also has powers on their board. Spike's power is he can spend 3 fuel to shuffle a card to swap a card. Actually, let me double check because I always forget these. So let me make sure I am explaining this power correctly. So for Spike's first power, his A power, you can spend 3 fuel to draw a single card. You can then discard that card to draw another one if you would like. Keep in mind that in the solo game, it might not always be the best idea because if you draw down to 0 and you have to reshuffle your deck, you start advancing the player board the head, or the bounty board the head a little bit. The second power is to spend 5 fuel to buy a card with a 2 Wulong discount and place it on the top of your deck. So that means that you could drop the cost of any card in the marketplace by 2, and then potentially add it to the top of your deck. Now, all of that being said, I did forget to do one key thing when I purchased that card, which is we immediately refill that spot with a new card. The nice thing with this game is that there's no limit on the cards you can play. There's also no limit on the cards you can employ. As long as you have enough money, you can keep buying cards to add to your deck until you're done. Now, although the secondary powers for each of these characters will not kick in during this game at all, one of the things that's neat is that the first tier power of every character that's not in play can still be used by the player if that character is on the same planet. So Faye, if I get her on the same planet, will allow me to spend 2 fuel to get 1 extra money, which is nice. Jet is really cool. Jet will allow me to uh, spend 2 fuel to remove 2 damage cards from my deck. From my hand or my discard pile. Excuse me. So it can't be in the sealed deck, but it can be in the discard pile or it can be in my hand. And then last but not least, Ed's initial power, you can spend 3 fuel to gain 1 communication, which can help take down some of those tougher communication enemies. So hopefully that all makes sense, and we're going to continue on the next round. So we have our new hand. We got 3 Wulongs. Nice, very good. We have Let's Jam, so that gives us another Wulong, and we can move 1 non-player character for free. And we have This Might Work, which gives us another fuel and a strength. So we're going to slide that fuel up 1. We are going to go ahead and we are going to move a character, and I think the character that I would like to move, I think I'm going to go ahead and actually move Jet. that I have access to his wound reduction power because I'm going to use my 1 strength, take this token, is now on my player board. When this, we'll get to it when it's time, but when this bounty is captured, that's when we get the renown for it and kind of cash that in. Now, the next piece of this is we've done all this, so we've moved them over. We spent the 1 strength. Because we spent the 1 strength, we need to flip over a wound card, so we're going to do that. This wound card says put this card in your discard pile. So when you draw it, it says remove this card. So basically, it's going to take up a space in your deck, but it's immediately going to go away and be put back into the other deck. So I'm going to slide that into the discard pile. We have 4 Woolongs to spend this turn. So again, we have aggressive questioning that we could employ. We have going solo that we can employ, and the new card that we drew is how about that? It's an Ed card that has a synergy bonus with Fae. He has 1 communication, and you may remove 1 card from your hand or your discard pile. So that's good for getting rid of cards that are kind of bloating up your deck a little bit. It also gives you 2 Woolongs if you have played a Fae card in the same turn. That being said, I think no, actually, I am going to go ahead and I am going to get the How About That card now that I think about it, because the How About That card is going to straight up be useful for communication. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to take these, we're going to toss them in the discard pile, we're going to shuffle our deck. Now, because we're in a solo game and we're shuffling our deck, what do we have to do? That's right, we have to consult the big shot board. We only get to consult it once, so we only pull 1 card. Now, the tricky part here is that the one thing that is happening at this particular moment is that all of the planets are still full. So when we draw this card, this is going to cause some struggle for us as we go. So I'm going to draw my hand, 1, 4, 5, that's there, we'll deal with that in a second. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull first bounty. So the first bounty is an Earth bounty. So that means that this goes into the discard pile for the draws, and it means that the fuel cost to go to Earth goes up to 2. Now, again, if this happens 2 more times, Teddy will get away. If not, this will reset when we capture Teddy. So it is, of course, my turn again. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna pull the cards. We got the Just the Scratch card, so that means it's removed from the game. So we're gonna, or not from the game, but from the deck. So that's gonna go back to the bottom of the wound pile. Means we only have 4 cards to work with this hand, which is a little rough. We've got Let's Jam, which does allow us to move another non-player character for free, which we may do. We've got a little fuel. We've got Giving a Lift, so I may move another character for free. And we have a regular Wulong card. So grant another 4 Wulongs total that we can use. And 2 fuel, so we're going to take that 2 fuel. And I can move up to 2 characters. I'm going to go ahead and move both of them in, so that way I have all of the resources available to me. Now, I don't have any strength, I don't have any of that. I do have some fuel. I could spend some fuel to do some stuff if I really wanted to. In this particular case, I think I actually will go ahead and spend. I've got 4 oolongs. What are my options here? So I could spend 5 to get Anger Issues, which may remove this card from my hand to draw 3 cards. And it gives me 2 fuel and 1 oolong. Not bad. And actually, I've got two of those available. We've got the Aggressive Questioning. We've got Going Solo. We've got Edward is Very Busy. You know what? Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and let that be. And we're just going to go ahead and employ Aggressive Questioning. That's a good call. And we're going to go ahead, flip this card over. So now we have Plan of Action available to us. So that's a 3-cost card. Gives us 1 strength. Allows us to look at the top card of our deck and discard it if we would like. And then, of course, it also gives us 2 extra Wulongs if we have a Fey card to play. There have been no Fey cards so far coming up, and that's a little rough considering the bonuses. I also just... these are discard pile cards. Take those. Go ahead, draw our next set of 5. Okay. So, for this one, we've just got a bunch of Wulongs, so 4 Wulongs, and this might work. So we gain 1 more fuel, keeping things all spicy, and we have another strength. So we're going to go ahead and use that strength to capture another point, and we are going to take a wound because we have to. The wound card is immediately lose 2 fuel, then remove this card. So that kind of hurts, but not as bad as it could have been, considering we've got quite a bit of fuel built up. So that goes back to the bottom of the wound pile. Thankfully, it doesn't bloat our deck. And we take out Teddy. So, we put these tokens back where they were. Now, the trick with when we resolve this is that we take the Teddy card. Teddy card goes to Spike. Spike captured him. Now, normally, you'd gain renown. The starters, however, have 0 renown. You'll notice at the top, sorry, hopefully that focus isn't there. This renown number at the top says 0. That means that the renown tokens that I got are actually kind of worthless, because they don't give me renown. Normally, if there was a renown value, you would exchange these tokens for 1 renown each. Renown is your victory points at the end of the game, assuming that you do successfully capture Vicious. Whoever has the most victory points at the end of the game wins. Of course, if you don't, everyone loses. So, now, because that board is empty, we must replenish the board. So we're going to draw 2 bounties from the bounty board. So bounty number 1 is a Mars bounty. It's Asimov. Now, that's a bummer because I would have liked to face off against Asimov. So that goes up by 1. So that goes to there. Now, because we're resetting, this also goes back down to 1. And then our second pull is Ganymede, which is also full. So that's Shin. Shin also goes to the discard pile. And Morgan now is harder to get to. Now, we then also all make our way back to the Bebop. And that ends that particular turn. So as of right now, Earth has no bounties. Ganymede has 1. Mars has 1. My hand is now done. We're going to go ahead. We're going to discard it. And we're going to draw cards. 1, 2, 3. And oh, look at that. Look at that. We have to reshuffle our deck. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And what do we do when we reshuffle our deck? That's right. We pull another bounty. So we're going to go ahead and finish shuffling. Draw our last 2 cards. And we're going to pull a bounty and hope that it's an Earth bounty, because if not, this is going to get real tough real quick. It is an Earth bounty, thank goodness. So we have Dr. Londis. Dr. Londis is worth 1 renown. It costs 2 strength to take on for our strength fight, and he's got 3 strength tokens. And he takes 2 communications to get the 4 investigation options to be able to take on. So he is a very, very tough bounty to take on, but valuable if we do. So let's go ahead and pull some cards here. All right, we've got Just a Hunch, which gives us a Wulong and a communication. We've got How About That, which also gives us communications, and we can remove 1 card from a hand or discard pile. I don't need to do that right now. We also have a little fuel, so that gives us some more fuel. And this might work, which is another fuel and a strength, and then a Wulong. So, grand total here, we have 2 communications. We have 3 fuel, so we'll go ahead and give ourselves our 3 fuel. We have 1 strength and 2 Wulongs. I'm actually going to go ahead. I'm going to spend 3, 1, 2, 3 of my fuel to draw another card. Gives me another Wulong. I could discard it to get another card, but I think 3 Wulongs is probably okay. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use 1 fuel to head on down to Earth. I believe I can take. I don't have the ability to move any NPCs right now, so just me. I do have 2 communications, so we're going to take 1 of the tokens from here, and because it's an investigation option, we do not lose any health for that, or take any wounds. So that pretty much resolves all of the things I think I can do, except for employing a card. And I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to employ Plan of Action. 3-cost card. Gives us 1 strength, allows us to look at the top card of our deck and discard it if we'd like, and of course gives us the 2 Wulong bonus if we get a Fey card. So, that pile is about to be discarded. We're going to go ahead and refill the marketplace. Ooh, we got Kidnapping. So Kidnapping allows, it's a weird card. This is a tough card for this particular pull. It gives you 2 fuel, and other players reveal their hands and discard all cards matching your character, then draw that many cards. You remove all cards matching your character from the purchasing area. Not a particularly useful card in this set, so we'll probably get to one of the other abilities that's on here, which allows you to spend 2 fuel to recycle this marketplace, because this marketplace is kind of garbage. But first, we draw our next hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 cards. We haven't had to reshuffle yet, so that's good. So, let's jam. We got Let's Jam, which gives us 1 Wulong and lets me move an NPC for free. We got 3 Wulongs just floating around here, and then we have Aggressive Questioning, which is 2 more Wulongs, a Strength, and would be fuel if we had another play card. We don't. So in this case, we just have quite a few Wulongs this turn and 1 Strength, and the 1 Strength doesn't really do much for us, perfectly honest. But what can we do? Let's go ahead. I think what I want to do is I'm going to slide Ed over here because Ed is useful if I can get some more fuel. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to spend. Edward is very busy. Is a pretty solid card, to be honest. It gives 1 fuel and 3 investigation, which is really handy. But as long as you have this in play in your hand or in play, you cannot use strength, which is less than ideal. I think we're gonna do that because we do have a very strong investigation side to work with, so we're gonna do that. That's gonna go into the discard pile. We're gonna flip this over. Got data. That's actually a pretty good card. I'm not gonna recycle the board yet, so we're gonna just go ahead and end this turn. We're going to draw our next card. So 1, 2, I am out of cards, which means I have to reshuffle, which means not only do I have to reshuffle, but I also need to consult the bounty board again. So we're going to do that real quick. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. Draw 3 more cards. Consult the bounty board, and the bounty board is an Earth bounty, which means Earth is now more difficult to get to. This is I will say, I like the solo player version of this game, however, it is a little bit unforgiving. A lot easier to navigate with multiple players for sure. But still a fun game to play and still a reasonable challenge level, like not impossible. So let's go ahead and take a look at what our hand is. Well, that paid off pretty quickly. So we got Edward is very busy is in our hand right now, so that's 1 fuel and 3 communication. We've got Giving a Lift, which gives me 2 Wulongs and can move another character for free. And then we have a grand total of 1, 2, 3 more Wulongs. So we've got 5 Wulongs, 1 fuel. Give that fuel up there. 3 communications, and we can move another character for free. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to slide Faye over. That's the good choice there. I'm going to go ahead and spend 3 fuel to use Ed's ability, which gives me 1 additional communication, so that'll put me up to 4. Okay. And that means that I can take 2 of these, so we've almost got him captured, which is nice. And with that being said, that pretty much wraps that up. So now we can spend our Wulongs. We've got 5 to spend. I'm gonna definitely get Got Data, 'cause I think that's a good card. It's only 3, gives me 2 Wulongs. If I have 2 fuel or less, I can move for free, which is super nice. And if I play it with an Ed card, I get an extra communication, which is also nice considering the number of Ed cards I've managed to add to my deck so far. So we're gonna go ahead replenish. That one is a 3-cost card. I don't have enough fuel to be able to recycle, and I don't have any 2-cost cards, so can't spend the rest of my money. So these are going in the discard pile, and I'm drawing a new hand of 5. All right. So hand of 5 gives us a little fuel. Always nice. 2 fuel right now while we're thinking of it. We've got How About That, which gives us the 1 communication, and I can remove a card from my hand or my discard pile, which I'm not going to do. Just a Hunch, which gives me a Wulong and another communication, which is fantastic. Plan of Action, which gives me a Strength, and I can look at the top card of my deck, and I may discard it. I am going to look at the top card of my deck. I am not going to discard it, though. Card. And then I have another Wulong. So that gives me 1, 2 Wulongs, 3 fuel, 2 communication. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spend 2 fuel to give myself an extra Wulong, so I have 3 Wulongs. I have 2 communications, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this last token here, which means we're going to capture that bounty. So we're going to go ahead and do that while we're here. So these go away. I capture bounty number 2. this bounty is worth 1, as you can see on the card. So that means that for every token that I have on my board for contributing to the fight, I get a single renown. So I have a total of 4 tokens, which means I get 4 renown. So we're going to go ahead and take that as a 1 and 3. And to be perfectly honest, the renown doesn't matter as much in the single player because you're not really competing against anyone else, but that's where the competitive piece of this comes in when the game ends. If you win as a collective, you then use your renown to, determine who is the winner of the big prize. Now, here's where things get spicy. We have to consult the board. So we're gonna draw the next card. This is a Mars card. Fortunately, that's not great for us because that means this goes up to 3, which means if we draw one more Mars card, that particular bounty gets away. And then card number 2 is another Mars card. Gross. All right, so that means that Mao did get away. She is a bummer. Does set that back to 1. It also means that we're kind of stuck because we can only deal with 1 bounty on Ganymede. So that's where I'm going to have to go next, and it's expensive to get there. Now, I do also have a total of 3 Woolongs to be able to spend, and we're going to use that for fishing for info, so I can finally get a Fey card in my deck. This also gives me 1 extra communication for each card I purchase this turn if I was to play. Particular case, that's not there, so we're going to go ahead, discard these cards, draw our next 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm not sure if this is good or bad, but we don't quite reshuffle our deck yet, so we just have our hand of 5. You also replenish the market. All right. So our cards this time are aggressive questioning, as we've had before. So 2 Wulong and 1 strength. We have a fuel and a strength, where this might work. We're going to go ahead and take that fuel right now. We have Let's Jam, which allows us to move a non-player character for free and gives us an extra Wulong, and then 2 Wulong. So grand total of 5 Wulongs to spend. We are going to spend our 2 fuel, which means we have 2 fuel left to go to Ganymede and try and take this on. So Ganymede has a 2 strength tokens available and 2 intelligence tokens available. So again, this is going to be a 0 value target, but it'll help us hopefully get this down so that we don't lose the game. So the next piece that we're going to do is I have 2 strength this turn. It doesn't. There is the risk reward with that of this. I can just go ahead and take out Morgan right now, which I'm going to do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take these 2 tokens. Again, they're not going to give me anything because there's no renown to get for the particular character. We're going to put those away. Morgan goes into my captured bounties pile. I go back here, back here, and we consult the bounty board. Now, the bright side is that the next 2 bounties are just going to go on the board, hopefully. So we have a Mars bounty. That is a lot of Mars bounties in a row. I did not shuffle this well, apparently. So we've got Abdul Hakim on Mars to deal with. So he's got 4 strength tokens and 3 intelligence tokens. Fantastic. And then our second option is Hex on Earth. And Hex is a 2 and 2. So, or no, sorry, 2 strength and a 5 intelligence. So it's a lot harder to take him down with intelligence, but it is what it is. All right. So that's been set there. That turn is done. Let's go ahead and spend our Wulongs. So we've got a total of 5 to spend. We're going to go ahead and get resupply because we need more Fey cards and 2 Wulongs and an extra fuel if we've got a Jet card. And then we'll flip and see if we get a 2 card. We did not. So that ends that turn. And now we have to reshuffle our deck so that we can draw our card. We do. And of course, a reshuffle means we consult the bounty board. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick. Our bounty is Vicious. Vicious is out. All right, everyone. So, Vicious. Let's talk about Vicious. So, FYI, Vicious deals 2 wounds for every token taken. Oh, speaking of which, I completely forgot. I have 2 wounds I need to take. So, take one. Put this card on the top of my deck. So technically, I drew that. All right. And then second wound is put this in my discard pile. So this is going into shuffle. Yeah. Okay. Got to remember to do all the things. I'm a professional. I swear. This is how this works. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna finish shuffling this hand. And then we're going to talk about Vicious. So, in a single player mode, you'll notice that Vicious has different totals based on his the number of players. So if there's 2 players, he's 9 and 5. If he's 3 players, he's 11 and 6. And if it's a 4-player game, it's 13 and 7. And unfortunately, in the single player mode, you set him up as though we are a full 4-player game. So, that means, among other things, that means that Vicious put him on a planet. Actually, I have to double check in how we put him on a planet. We're going to set his card here. We're going to put 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13 tokens on the strength pool, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tokens, basically all the tokens on the intelligence pile. Now, let's talk about how Vicious works. So, to confront Vicious, a character must be on the same planet as him. If there's a criminal card on the planet as well, the player can choose to confront either Vicious or the bounty. Gaining capture tokens from Vicious works the same as capturing other criminals. Taking one of his resistance tokens, however, the strength fight, gives 2 wounds instead of 1. Likewise, 3 clues are required in order to gain 1 investigation token, but without drawing a damage card. At the end of each player's turn, if Vicious has lost at least 1 resistance token that turn, he moves. If he hasn't lost any tokens or only investigation tokens, Vicious doesn't move. He then reveal the top card of his movement deck and resolve the following effects. If the revealed location is different from his current whereabouts, simply move Vicious to that location without changing the movement gauges on the planet. If the location indicated matches his current location, you raise the movement gauge on the planet forward by 1. If the gauge is already on 3 and a criminal card is present on that planet, the criminal escapes following the normal rules. If not, leave it on 3. Vicious can't get away on that. And criminals revealed from the movement deck do not go on a planet board, even if the planet is available. Likewise, purchasing area refresh effects indicated on criminal cards don't affect this play. Also, I realized I completely forgot a step in here. You'll notice that some of these cards have has a board with a refresh option. Technically, when they came out, I should have refreshed this whole marketplace, and I didn't do that. So, my apologies. We're not perfect here. It's okay. But a friendly reminder: if the card indicates it when you get a new bounty, you do refresh the market. So, setting up Vicious's movement deck. So, the way this works, which is a little different from standard, is you take the cards that have been discarded. I believe. Let's see. Let me look at his movement deck. So just to make sure I'm doing this correctly, because I want to double check. So, you take all the discarded criminal cards and add those remaining in the deck and shuffle them together. So that this criminal pile and this criminal pile, we shuffle them all together. And this is now his movement deck. So, unlike in a multiplayer game, in a single player game, we simply draw a card and see where he moves every single turn. So of course he starts where we drew him, or where I actually, so technically, the first planet he goes to, let's see, reveal the first card and determine where he goes. Yep. So we're going to reveal this first card, and this first card is a Ganymede card, so he does end up on the planet we thought. So that goes there. He does this. Now keep in mind, this doesn't refill those spaces. he's now here, and so now we have our options to deal with him. All right. All of that being said, let's go ahead and play through this. I have a feeling we're going to lose this game, but it's okay. So our options are we have Plan of Action. So Plan of Action gives us 1 strength. We can look at the top card of our deck, and we may discard it. The top card of my deck is not something I want to discard. We also have a Wulong. We have, how about that? So we get another communication. We can remove 1 card from my hand or my discard pile. I am going to remove the card from my hand, this Bedrest card, without having to pay money for it. Right? And then I have Giving a Lift, so that gives me 2 Wulongs, and I can move another character for free. Unfortunately, moving another character for free doesn't do a lot of good for me right now. But we'll go ahead and we'll move Ed over to Ganymede. Now, granted, Vicious is probably not going to stay there, but it'll work for now. I don't have any fuel to actually get to Vicious at the moment, so really all I can do this particular turn is spend my 3 Wulong. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that. And we'll go ahead and get Good Riddance. Gives me a fuel, and I may discard 1 card to draw 1 card. Gives me 1 strength. I play it with a jet card. So these are here. We're going to go ahead and draw our next hand. 3, 4, 5. And we're going to flip a card. See where Vicious moves. Vicious is running away to Mars. So friends over here. Called it. And it is now my turn again. We're going to go ahead and flip the card here. All right, so we've got Fishing for Info, so we gain 1 communication for each card purchased this turn, which is nice. We have Edward is very busy, which gives us 3 communication, or 3 clues, and a fuel. We're going to go ahead and that fuel. And as long as I have this card in play, I can't use strength cards. That's okay. I don't have any right now. I have 2 Wulongs, and we have a little fuel, so that's 2 more fuel. All right. So this gives us a little bit to work. So Spike is going to make his way to Mars, because, yeah, got to fight Vicious. We also have a total of 4 Wulongs to spend. Pardon me. So I'm going to get New Hit, which gives me a communication, and if there's a Fey card in play when I play it, I get 2 extra Wulongs. We're going to set that aside. I guess put it this card. They're also there. And we're going to go ahead, flip this next card, and maybe it's another 2. It is not another 2. That's too bad. So we're going to go ahead. Technically, that means we have 4 communications. We can only use 3 of them, but we are going to use 1 to go ahead and take a token from Vicious. Hopefully, whittle our way down. So next, we're going to go ahead and wrap this turn up. So these cards are all going to go away. We're going to draw our new hand. 2, 4, 5. And we're going to see where Vicious runs away to. Vicious stays on Mars, so fantastic. That is always helpful. So my next hand, we got Just a Scratch, so this card's going to go right back in the wound pile. We've got Just a Hunch, which gives us 1 communication and 1 Wulong. We've got This Might Work, which gives us 1 fuel and 1 strength. And then we have 2 Wulongs. So we've got 3 Wulongs total to spend. We have 1 strength to use, and we have 1 communication. It's kind of a rough spot, to be honest with you. Do I have the ability to move? I don't have the ability to move anyone. I could do this and take the 2 wounds. Yeah, I'm going to try. We're going to do this. Take the 1 token. We're going to go ahead and take our 2 wounds. The first one is Technical Difficulties, which put this card on top of my deck, and I can pay 1 fuel to remove it. And then Solid Hit, which put this card in my discard pile, and I can pay 2 Wulongs to remove it. Okay, that hurt. And that basically ends my turn. So we're going to drop these. We're gonna draw our new hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna see where Vicious runs off to. Vicious stays on Mars. Let's go. That's the benefit to the fact that we drew a lot of Mars cards early on, is it's more likely to stay where he is. All right. So we've got technical difficulties, which allows us to pay a fuel to remove this card, and I think I'm going to go ahead and just do that, because the less we have clogging up the deck, the better. Next, we have Let's Jam, so I can move one non-player character for free, and I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to slide Jet on over here. We're then going to go in, and we're going to say, we've got Aggressive Questioning, which is 2 Oolongs, 1 Strength. We've got Data, which is 2 Oolongs, and we have, if I have two fuel or less, I may move for free, but I don't. And then I may pay 1, and then of course I've got 1 Oolong. So basically got 6 Oolongs to spend, and a Strength if I want to use it. So I'm going to go ahead and use it. That's the right move. Got to try and whittle them down. Does mean we get 2 wounds. This wound goes on the top of my deck, and the next one goes in my discard pile. I am going to spend 2 fuel to use Jet's Power to remove 2 wound cards from my discard pile. At least not quite as nasty as it was. And that pretty much, and I can spend 6 Oolongs. So, with 6 Oolongs, go ahead and employ Synchronization. See what the next card is. The next card is not one I can get. So I will actually go ahead and use the other 3 to get going solo. All of these go in my discard pile. I draw a new hand of 5. 1, 2. 3, 4, 5. And we see where Vicious runs off to. Vicious stays on Mars. Let's go. Alright. So we have Rough Day, so we can remove this card. That's great. Then our other cards are Resupply, which is 2 Oolongs. 2 Oolongs. Let's Jam, so I get another Oolong and can move a non-player character for free. And Just a Hunch, which gives me another Oolong and a Communication. So we're going to slide good friend Ed over to Mars. We have 5 Oolongs to spend. I think we're going to get Anger Issues. I have 1 Communication. I don't have enough fuel to spend to get Edward's ability, which means I really can't do anything. So this is kind of a wasted round. This is all going to go in the discard pile. Draw our next hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to see where Vicious runs away to. Vicious runs to Ganymede. Alright. Oh, and you know what? I believe I was doing something wrong. I think every time... Yeah, every time we drew Mars, technically, Mars went up. Technically, it went up to 3 and then ran away, because we've drawn enough Marses that happened. That still triggered. Alright. That was confusing to anyone. Basically, every time we were drawing Mars, I was supposed to increase this fuel tracker 1. So I just didn't do that. And once it hits the bounty that was on Mars gets to run away. So it is now the new turn. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do This Might Work, which is 1 fuel and 1 strength. That fuel. We've got Aggressive Questioning, which is another strength and 2 Oolongs. We've got Data, which is 2 Oolongs. And if I have 2 or less fuel, I can move for free, which I do at this moment. And then, so actually I'm going to do that. through. We're going to go ahead and we're going to play this, which gives me another Wulong, and I gain 2 fuel. Other players with at least 3 fuel lose 1, which nobody has, and then I have another Wulong. So I have a grand total of 1 communication, 2 strength, and 6 Wulongs. Whew, boy. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and try take 2 strength, which means take 4 damage, which is disgusting. Vandalism. So this goes in my discard pile. Vandalism goes in my discard pile. Open wound goes in my discard pile. And close one, I just remove this card immediately, so I dodge a bullet. Okay, cool. Alright, so we've got 6 Oolongs to spend. Let's. I think we'll go ahead and we'll get the other issues flipped over. I don't think there's a 1 cost card, so that's basically where it is. And we're gonna take all this, put it in the discard pile. Draw our next hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And see where Vicious runs to. Ganymede stays put, but costs 2 fuel to move here. Not ideal. And a new turn. We've got a new hit. Fishing for info. A little fuel. 2 more fuel. Love it. Good riddance, which gives us another fuel. Strength. And Edward is very busy, which gives us yet another fuel. And a bunch of communication. Alright. So, we actually have 4 Wulongs. Right now, 4 communication. I'm going to go ahead and purchase this card. And unfortunately, that's not a 2-cost card, so that's all I can do. So that only gives me 5 communication, which is 1 shy of where I'd like it to be. Okay. I can't use strength this turn, so we're just going to go ahead. We're going to take this 1. And the turn's going to be over. We're going to go ahead, slide this all here. Discard pile. Draw a new hand of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And see where Vicious moves to. Vicious runs to Earth. And let's see. All right. We have Plan of Action, which is 1 strength. How about that, which is 1 communication. Giving a lift, which is 2 communication. I can move another character for free. And 2 Oolongs. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to spend 2 fuel. 1 to go back to Bebop. Another go to Earth. I'm going to move another character for free. And that other character is going dead. I'm going to spend all of 6 of my fuel to get 2 clues in addition to the 1 I already have. Which means I can claim 1 more spot of Vicious. And I have 4 Wulongs to spend. And we're going to go ahead and spend that on resupply. Flip that over. Alright. Now we draw our cards. 1, 2, 3. Reshuffle. I'm pretty sure almost at the end of this. Can we beat Bishop? 1, 2. Alright. We got a Wulong. Synchronization. Oh, actually, before I do all this, we flip over and see where does he run? Stays on Earth. Alright. So we have. Alright, this is a good hand. We have 1, 2, 3 fuel. We have 3 clues. We have 1 strength, and we have 2 oolongs. So 2 oolongs will allow us to employ special delivery, which we'll go ahead and do. We have the 3 communications, so we're going to pull that off vicious. And unfortunately, that ends the turn. And Vicious runs away to Ganymede and escapes. And that is it. We didn't quite beat the clock, but we did have a great time. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, take a moment to like and subscribe to our channel. We'll be doing more content like this every Fresh Content Friday, so please do hit us up. And in the meantime, you can also, if you like tips and strategies, other questions, things about this game, feel free to drop a comment in the chat. Be happy to hit you back or hit us up on our Discord. All of our socials are in the description below. Thank you and have an awesome rest of your day, and talk to you soon. Bye!